Sponsored by Lake Charles Memorial Health Systems. Covering the news for Southwest Louisiana. This is 7 News First at 4.
And a good afternoon here in Southwest Louisiana. We are tracking showers and storms, and there is a tornado warning for far western Beauregard Parish. Now, I'll zoom into where we have the storm. Technically, the storm that we are talking about is just outside of our viewing area, but again, it's the far western part of the parish that technically does have that warning on the state line, the Sabine River from Bancroft up towards Bivens. So because it's getting closer to our area, we're going to stick with this for at least a little longer here, and I'm going to show you what we have going on. So there's a couple of storms that we're watching. One is a cell very close to the Bancroft area. I'm going to actually briefly take away the radar just to show you where the warning boxes are. So let me do that, and you can see that here. Again, technically the first warning is over into western parts of Texas, but it includes the state line, the Sabine River, just to the north of Bancroft, including a sliver of Southwest Louisiana. So usually we would be on air for 7 News at 4, first at 4, but because, again, this storm, the cell over near Kirbyville right now, that's getting a little bit closer to the state line, so we are going to continue to keep a close eye on that and track that here on air. Now, the other storm, this other cell that we are watching, and they just came out with another warning, which includes more of Beauregard Parish. This is the one that we are watching. It's south of Bancroft and southwest of the Fields community, and this storm does look a little bit more impressive than the one we were tracking over into Texas. So again, both of these storms we are going to keep a very close eye on this afternoon. Now, let's take a look at the velocity. And you can tell where the rotation is here. So I'll pause the loop. If we can we pop me up on the green screen, guys, back there? If we could do that, I'd like to kind of show where the rotation is. Oh, there we are. Thank you, guys. So here's the area of rotation that we're watching. It's this area very close, just south of the Fields community, north of Road 109. And you can make out some greens and reds that are kind of coming together. This is what we call a couplet. So the green colors we see here, those are winds coming towards the Lake Charles Regional Radar, or the radar at the airport. Those are northwesterly winds. So if you follow my hand, coming down from the north. On the other side of that, we do have winds coming from the opposite direction. So from the southeast up towards the north. That's where we have this rotation right there. And if there is a tornado, that is where it currently would be. Again, just to the south of the Bancroft community this afternoon. So I'm going to go walk off screen, and I'll be kind of doing this pretty much for the duration of the warning, going back to the desk to control the radar and then popping up on the green screen when I can pause the radar here. But I want to zoom in a little bit closer. Again, there's the area of rotation at the center of your screen there. I'll pop up some of the roads or zoom in a little bit closer, and you'll notice that the rotation's very close to, and you can make out the newest update, which that rotation looks a little bit tighter near Old River Road. I believe that says Caney Creek Road. Again, if there is a tornado, that is where it would be, going up the line a little bit more. You'll notice near Quinn Road, that's in your immediate vicinity. That will be over your location, likely within the next minute or two. So you need to be in that safe place right now. So I'll go back to the regular radar, and I'm going to do a storm track, zoom out a little bit here. So here is the cell again that we're tracking south of the Bancroft area. I'll go back briefly to the wall here, and again, on the regular radar, this is what we're watching, this hook echo, or this hook kind of at the bottom of the cell here, where you can make out that appendage going just to the south of the Bancroft area. Again, if there is a tornado, that is where it would be. So now I'll walk off again, and I do want to get a storm track on this cell going. According to the National Weather Service, this is a cell located near Bancroft or near Fields, moving northeast at 25 miles per hour. So let me put that information into our system, and then I'll get that storm track up as soon as I can. I'll also zoom out a little bit to give you guys a better idea of where this is headed. And you can see the radar updating as well. I do want to give a wider zoom out there to alert more communities in the path. That's a bit narrow for my liking, that storm track. So here's another one, and I'll be up in just a minute. Okay, so here we go. Here's a list of those arrival times and the locations in the path of this storm. Again, near Bivens, 4:13. So right now it's 4:05. That will be in your community probably within the next 5 to 10 minutes. So you would be first in line for that cell. So right now you do want to get into that safe place. Remember, for safe places, we're talking about interior rooms. You want to put yourself with as many walls between you and yourself from the outdoors as you can. A bathroom or a closet would work fine in that scenario. Now, farther off to the north and east seal, probably near 4:32 p.m., maybe a little bit sooner than that, so just keep that in mind. That's headed in your direction near the Singer vicinity, around 4:40 off to the north and to the east, and then closer towards Longville around 5:03, or at least the First Baptist Church of Longville around 5 o'clock. So those are just a few locations in the path of the storm. And I'll take this information off the screen right now. So of course we do have this tornado warning out, and it goes, at least at the moment, until 4:30 p.m. this afternoon. Now, it's possible that if it shows signs of weakening, the National Weather Service could expire the warning, but for now it does look like it's a pretty fairly defined area of rotation, and we'll continue to be here tracking it as long as that is the case. So definitely a fairly active afternoon with not only that tornado warned storm in our immediate viewing area, but again, this additional one near Kirbyville over in Texas, that if that holds together and stays organized, that would head our way and probably likewise head into Beauregard Parish as well, maybe more of the northwestern parts of the parish, closer to Maryville, but again, only if that cell holds together. So both of these cells on the screen here is what we'll continue to track this afternoon. Now, of course, we do have other rain going on across southwest Louisiana, so I do want to give you guys an idea of what rain we have. Over into Calcasieu, Jeff Davis, and Cameron parishes, I'll put the radar loop into motion here. We don't have as much activity. I'm going to walk back on screen. We do have some showers and a few thunderstorms near the DeQuincy area. And if you are in DeQuincy, it is going to be worth paying close attention to that tornado warned cell. But if it stays on the track, I do think that will slide just to the north of your location. Again, if you are in DeQuincy. For the rest of Calcasieu Parish, some scattered showers, especially north of I-10. Less activity, though, over into Jeff Davis and Cameron parishes. Now let's go back up to the north over into Vernon, Beauregard, Allen parishes. Away from the tornado warned storms, we do have some showers over into Vernon Parish. We do have some localized areas of heavier rain as we are into Allen Parish here. If we take a look near Oberlin and Mitty, we do have a couple of those downpours, a couple thunderstorms. So far, again, these thunderstorms, at least here along Highway 165 in Oberlin, not really that impressive, not in a hurry to strengthen, but since they are fairly individual cells, we will continue to watch that since we do have a couple of stronger storms off to the west and then more rain as we head over into Beauregard Parish near Longville, Dry Creek, Sugartown, and DeRidder, mostly light to moderate rain in those locations. So I'm going to go back and show you what's going on with these cells. And I do have an update from the National Weather Service. So for the cell we were tracking in Newton County over into Texas, remember we had that warning box out earlier, but that's lost definition, so they've canceled that warning outside of our viewing area, but we'll keep an eye on that cell anyways. We are still tracking, though, this tornado warned storm over now south of the Bancroft area between Bancroft and Fields. A while back on screen here. And we still have this hook kind of where some of the heavier rain is wrapping from the storm off to the north and basically down south and southeastward. That's the hook that we have right here where my hand is. That's where we have the rotation. If we do have a tornado, that is where it would be. Now I'll go back off screen and we'll let you know, or we'll take a look at the velocity, the winds, and see if there is a tornado ongoing with this right now. So here is a look at the velocity. Unfortunately, it does look like it has strengthened a little bit more. I'm going to pause the loop here. I'll put the rotation in the middle of the screen. You'll notice not only are those greens and reds a little bit tighter to each other, but the reds in particular, the winds moving away from the radar definitely have increased in strength, or the winds have increased within the latest radar scan. And again, that is near, trying to make out some of those names on the screen. Looks like near Lovett Road, just south of the Bancroft area, or just off to the west of the Fields area. That's where the rotation is right now. It's strengthened a little bit. You need to be in that safe place, if not right now, as soon as you can. And same thing for some of the roads off to the north of that. And to zoom in on some of those roads, I'll go off to the screen once again. And you'll notice that, again, that is Lovett Road where the rotation is. Quinn Road, it's not moving very fast, but that's still very close to your location. If you're in Quinn Road or anywhere near those roads in Bancroft in Beauregard Parish, that rotation is going to be over your location, likely within the next few minutes. And if you're along Road 389, that too, any roads near there, including Charles Road, Bearsy Road. I apologize if I do mispronounce some of those road locations and road names, but again, anywhere near those roads, you need to be in that safe place right now, since that rotation is going to be overhead within the next few minutes. Now I'm going to zoom out just a little bit. You can get an idea of where that rotation is. Again, basically south of Bancroft, between Bancroft and Fields at this moment. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up our debris product to see if there is any sort of sign of a debris signature on our radar. I'll also walk back onto the screen here. And so when I bring up this product, what we're looking for is a defined area. Usually if we're trying to confirm whether or not there's a tornado on the ground, here's what we're looking for. It'd be what you're trying to look for is a circle almost, or a very defined area where we have a deep blue or a deep green color. That would indicate the radar is picking up on different objects compared to rain. All the purple coloration you see on the screen there, that is rain. And this is some good news, is that I don't really see, at least easily, an area where we can say definitely, okay, there is a tornado here. I just don't see that at the moment right now. Again though, and be between Bancroft and Fields at this moment. But again, thankfully using this product, I just can't confirm from this alone that there would be an ongoing tornado. And that's definitely some good news. That is what we want to see at the moment. But again, if I bring up that velocity, the rotation is still there. So I'll pause the radar once again. Do you see the warning box flashing? So I'm wondering if there is an update from the National Weather Service. But I am going to pause the radar for a minute. And I do see a bit of good news as well. I can't really determine that there is a tornado on the ground. And the overall couplet, the rotation, does look a little bit broader though, compared to the previous scan, where at least compared to a few minutes ago, we don't quite have that defined green and red coloration coming together. It is still definitely there. The rotation is there, but it does look like it may be a little bit weaker or a little more broad in nature. So that would be some good news. Again, though, that rotation is still there, so we are going to continue to keep a close eye on this cell. And we will, at least as far as the tornado warning is concerned, that we'll continue to watch this at least until 4:30, unless the cell does weaken a little bit more. But still, that rotation is there. I'm going to take a wider zoom out here and go back to the regular radar. Let's zoom out a little bit. And again, fortunately, some good news is that the hook itself on the regular radar, what we were tracking, does not look quite as defined. I'll go back and kind of go back a few frames, a few minutes on the radar here. And especially around 4:07 p.m., about 10 minutes ago, 5 to 10 minutes ago, we had this defined hook south of Bancroft where we had that rotation pretty tight, again, just a few minutes ago. But if I go to what the radar is showing now, you'll notice that hook does lose a little bit of definition as it's now moving just to the south and the east of the Bancroft area. So hopefully that's a trend that continues. That's a good trend. We like to see that. But again, as long as there's rotation here, we'll continue to keep a close eye on the cell. I do see an update from the National Weather Service. Looks like that's an update more so for Jasper and Newton counties over in Texas, but they also do make a good point. In addition to the potential for a tornado or hail with these storms, we also have quite a bit of heavy rainfall with a few of these thunderstorms as well, so we easily could pick up a quick inch or 2 inches of rainfall wherever you do have the heaviest thunderstorm activity. So now let's go back to the regular radar here again. We do have other rain across southwest Louisiana, so you may be wondering, well, there's not a tornado warning at my location. Why are you breaking in? Well, again, we still have that warning out for southwestern Beauregard Parish near Bancroft and Fields, and we do still have some rain outside of that as well. Thankfully, nothing severe. Those are the only 2 severe thunderstorms we have in southwest Louisiana, but nevertheless, we have some shower activity. Still a couple storms we're watching near Oberlin over into Allen Parish. A lot of shower activity even outside of those warnings in Beauregard Parish. That includes over into Vernon Parish this afternoon. And speaking of those thunderstorms over into Texas, we are continuing to keep an eye on those as well, where we do have numerous strong to severe thunderstorms north and west, especially of the Houston area. Fortunately, though, these really are not moving in a hurry. They're not moving very quickly. In fact, some of them are moving in a northerly direction away from our area. But we are going to have to continue to keep a close eye on that or any thunderstorms that can pop up over our area, like these storms that we have in Beauregard Parish as well. So I do want to zoom into this storm again. It's now just south and east of the Bancroft area, at least where we would have a tornado if there is one. And again, I do want to bring up another storm track, so we'll zoom out the radar here and get that up for you once again. Okay, so here we are. Again, another view of the list of the arrival times and the places here. Again, if the storm were to hold together, it'd probably be around DeQuincy between, we'll call it 4:20 to 4:30 on average. DeQuincy, you're not in the warning, so that's some good news there, but it is generally headed in your direction. Same thing for the Tula community as well. Again, technically you guys not in the warning, but since it's heading in your direction, just keep a close eye on this storm since there is still at least some rotation associated with it. If you're in and around Bancroft and Fields, though, you are going to want to stay in that safe place at least for a few more minutes. Once again, the warning goes until 4:30 p.m. this afternoon. I'll take this information off the screen here. Let's go back to the velocity product, to the wind product, and take another look at that rotation that we have. And you'll notice once again, here it is. That cell was just now south and east of the Bancroft area. Unfortunately, it does show, or has continued to show signs of weakening a little bit, and the rotation becomes a little less broad. And you can really see that again on our second wind product that we generally like to use here. So I'll take a look at the product. Starting to lose my voice a little bit here, but and we do have Chief Meteorologist Wade Hampton. He's here to help. Wade, do you have anything?
I do. Been watching this. What you've been saying is certainly true. If you'll take off the mic, I'll put it on here real quick. That way folks can hear me much better. There we go. As you can see on the radar, what Max has been talking about, that the velocity is definitely not quite as impressive as it was earlier. That's a good sign. That's what we want to see with this sort of storm. And you can see the radar signature is just not as impressive as it was earlier. Still not going to say this is not potentially on the ground, but certainly the signs look better now. But still a lot of rain, a lot of lightning with this as well, and there could be some hail from this as well. Definitely a hail core located just southeast of the Bivens area, and anytime where you have hail like that, you can also get strong gusty winds. And we're not talking about tornado winds, we're talking about just straight line winds. You can get that as well, as you can see there with that kind of bullseye just southeast of the Bivens area. In fact, let's look at the hail product here. Not quite as impressive with this. The track for that hail would head toward the Singer area within the next about 30 minutes or so. Do want to kind of reset things across all of Southwest Louisiana and show you what else is going on. If you're watching us elsewhere, I know we normally would be on our newscast, and if this warning ends, we'll get back to that here in a second. But I'm not seeing anything at all in Cameron. Calcasieu Parish is looking good at this moment. There are a few scattered showers across the northern part of the parish. That's really about it. And they're saying they're going to continue the warning, even though the rotation has kind of broadened out just a little bit. Jeff Davis Parish, I'm not seeing anything at all here. Allen Parish, there are some showers ongoing, as you can see, but none of this is severe. And Vernon Parish is actually pretty much in the clear. And I do want to go farther down the line and show you what's going on in Texas. There are additional storms over here, but these are not moving a whole lot. This has been setting there since around noon today. And that's the other concern. If storms set for too long in any one area, especially more than an hour or two, you could deal with an event where there could be some flooding that could become major problems in localized areas. And you can see the radar is pretty active across much of southeast Texas, all the way kind of north of Houston, all the way out to between there and the Austin area. But again, those storms are not moving a whole lot. We'll come back to the storm here, where it sounds like this warning will continue until 4:30 unless there's some significant weakening signs with this. But even if not, the hail, I think, is likely the story with that storm. You can see that kind of bullseye looking feature there right just south of the Bivens area. That is where the hail would likely be. We'll look at the velocity one more time here. Not seeing the rotation signature here anywhere near as much as it was earlier. You can see how that's kind of pivoted up to just southeast of the Bancroft community. It has crossed Highway 389 between Fields and Bancroft. If there was a tornado on the ground, it's likely north of Highway 389 and east of the Bancroft area, and continuing to move off toward the northeast at about 30 miles per hour or so. And again, this is definitely a weakening trend that I'm seeing with this on the radar, which is certainly good. That's the trend we like to see. But again, still a lot of heavy rain, a lot of lightning, and likely some fairly large hail, maybe up to near 1-inch diameter hail falling just south of the Bivens community between there and Fields. And of course, again, I know many of you may be saying, well, what about my area if you're watching us elsewhere? Once again, let's kind of reset the situation. I know normally you might be wondering, well, you've had an alert go off, or you didn't have an alert go off. Why are we on? Well, here's what's going on, again, parish by parish. Cameron Parish first, pretty much nothing at all at this moment. Just a lot of clouds, a lot of breezy conditions. Most of Calcasieu Parish is in the clear with just some clouds around the northern part of the parish. We are seeing some light showers, especially from DeQuincy south to about the Houston River area. South of there, there's just not much. Jeff Davis, we're in the clear at the moment, not really seeing any rain at all. Allen Parish, there's some light rain, but again, none of this is severe nor showing signs of turning severe. So good news there. Obviously, we'll come back to Beauregard in a moment. Vernon Parish, a few spotty showers here and there, but nothing all that problematic. Now in Beauregard Parish, obviously that's where we have the tornado warning. If you're watching us in, say, in the city of DeRidder, you're outside of this warning. There is a severe thunderstorm watch that goes until 7 p.m. tonight. But the storm farther to the southwest will have to be watched to see if it holds together and can move toward the DeRidder area. But this warning only goes until 4:30 with, again, that rotation definitely still at least somewhat evident here just east of the Bancroft area. Now, again, I'll admit, I'm not seeing a great signature with this, which is good. We don't want to see an impressive signature, to be honest, because that would be a bad sign. That would be a sign that there would be a very definite tornado on the ground. And we'll look here at the debris tracker. If we were to see debris, that would show up as kind of a blue color. And I'm not seeing anything along those lines either. So that's certainly good news. It's a fairly wooded area, so if there was a tornado, it would likely easily be able to loft things up into the air, meaning trees or pieces of trees, pine needles and the such. And again, we're just not seeing that, so that's a good sign. But certainly
The tornado warning does continue per the National Weather Service for another 6 minutes or so, but I certainly I like the trends I'm seeing with this storm. Again, we'll look farther to the west as there were other storms over in Jasper and Newton County. That specific storm looks like it's weakened. The amount of lightning with it has really come down, so that's a sign that that storm is weakening. And then back to the west, it's all this activity around the Houston area, kind of north of Houston, that will have to be watched later tonight to see if that's going to arrive here or not. We'll kind of give you a quick weather cast here too, since we're taking up the news time. And again, I really think this threat is mostly over as far as a tornado, unless we see something different as far as the radar is concerned. I want to quickly show you Futurecast here if I can find it. Real quick, we'll see if we can find Futurecast and show you what's expected through the rest of the afternoon hours. And there we go. This is a look at our Futurecast computer model, which has been doing well today and showing storms around the area. Notice it keeps them around the area through early this evening. And then I think a gradual weakening trend, especially by midnight. And if you're wondering about your Saturday plans, if we're going to see rain, it's going to be early in the day and likely tapering off pretty quick after that. I think most of the day on our Saturday is going to be rain-free. Again, if we're going to see rain Saturday, it is going to be in the morning hours where we were to see rain. And a quick look at our 10-day forecast. Here's some good news because they're telling me the warning is going to be allowed to expire at 4:30. So we'll give you a quick look at the rest of our forecast. You can see rain chances for tomorrow are 30%. That's primarily the morning hours. I do see cooler temperatures for Sunday into Monday. In fact, Monday morning probably down into the upper 50s in many areas, maybe even lower than that in some areas, especially north of Interstate 10. Definitely going to be a kind of a cool start to our Monday, but we'll warm up from there pretty quick by the time we get to the beginning and middle part of next week. But once again, we'll come back to the radar real quick and show you what's going on that front, as again, officially this warning will be allowed to expire at 4:30, as it definitely looks like the threat is no longer in place. I'm still not seeing anything on velocity here that is jumping out at me. Anytime you see red and green kind of touching in the same spot, that's something you watch for, but it's just not all that impressive. This looked much more impressive earlier when this warning was issued. We'll be watching it through the rest of the afternoon and continue to monitor things. If any other warnings are issued, we'll certainly let you know, but we'll stay on here until right at 4:30, and then we'll get you back to regular programming. Of course, we'll have a full look at the news of the day coming up on 7 News Live at 5. We'll have a complete wrap-up of everything that's been going on in Southwest Louisiana. A lot of things going on. Of course, there's a big election tomorrow. We'll have information on that as well. And again, as I said, I think the weather, if there's rain tomorrow, it's going to be early. So don't let that deter you from heading out to the polls tomorrow. But we'll have all the information on polling and all of that coming up, as I said, on 7 News Live at 5. One last check of the velocity as we're getting closer and closer to the bottom of the hour here when this warning will be allowed to expire. There's still this little feature, but again, I'm just not seeing a significant tightening of this just yet. And by tightening, I would mean we're bright green and bright red color right next to each other in 1 pixel. That's what we kind of look for. There's still hints of that northwest of the Fields area, but there's also this hail issue that seems to have come down. That's a good sign that the amount of hail, the size of the hail has relaxed. That's a sign too that the storm may be weakening. Whether that trend continues, we'll have to wait and see. The amount of lightning is still fairly impressive with that, so that's usually the thing I like to look for as far as weather is concerned. If a storm is weakening, the number of lightning strikes usually rapidly drops off if a storm is weakening, and not quite seeing that just yet with this specific storm. And again, as I said, we're going to watch to the west, see what these storms in Texas do. But barring anything else, unless it develops over us, I think this storm in Beauregard's the only one to really watch for our area, as everything else is mostly just light rain across southwest Louisiana. And we'll keep an eye on those storms off to the west over into portions of southeast Texas. But as I said, this warning is going to be allowed to expire here in about 30 seconds. And at that point, we will send you back to regular programming, and we'll have a full look at the news of the day coming up on 7 News live at 5. Myself and Max both will be here for the rest of the afternoon monitoring things. And if any other warnings are issued, we'll be right back on television, and we'll keep you updated. And as always, you can check our First Alert weather app. You can download that by searching KPLC weather on your smartphone if you don't have our app. But for now, we'll send you back to regular programming. So far, it does not. I still see that other area out here just northeast of Fields still showing up, but not quite as prevalent with that just yet. We'll see if anything changes on that regard. You can kind of see how that just kind of popped up there in place, but this is all still part of the same parent storm that was going on earlier at 4 o'clock when the initial warning was issued. Let's go to the radar on this storm, and we'll show you. This is likely right at the edge. Yeah, right there. This is where this type of tornado, it's what we call a QLCS, if you want to get down into the meteorology of this. Those type of tornadoes are usually short-lived and usually weaker, and sometimes don't give a great radar signature either if those type of tornadoes develop. But I suspect that's what's going on there. Plus, it's right at the edge of the thunderstorm anyway, so sometimes that can help to spark a little bit of rotation, especially with that first thunderstorm and this separate one kind of getting into a merging situation. Let's go back to the tornado part of this storm that is at least radar indicated here south of the Bancroft area. And I know we're right at the top of the 5 o'clock hour. Normally we'd be on with the news. We'll try to get that to you here in a moment. But as long as there's a signature that still shows tornado, we're going to stay with the weather information here. But we can take the wider view one more time, and we'll go through this parish by parish, because again, I know many of you are watching elsewhere and wondering what's going on where you live. So let's just kind of start on the south, and we'll move north across the area into Cameron Parish first. This is easy. There's nothing going on at all. You can see on the radar, nothing here at all. Jeff Davis Parish, you guys are also fairly easy in this regard. Not seeing anything here in Jeff Davis Parish yet. Maybe a few sprinkles. Calcasieu Parish, yes, there's some rain, especially north of Interstate 10 and west of the Calcasieu River. Places like DeQuincy. You're close, I know, to this tornado warning storm, but you're not included in that warning, and so far you likely will not be. But again, Beauregard Parish certainly will come back to this tornado warning storm in a moment. The rest of Beauregard Parish, maybe if you're watching us around the Ragley area, up to Dry Creek, Longville, rain, yes, nothing that's showing signs of being severe. Even farther north yet into the city of DeRidder, also over toward Maryville and Singer, you're not in the warning at this moment, but if the storm holds together, could get closer to you, but for sure there is rain. Over into Allen Parish we'll go. There's also some showers here, but this is light and not severe. Places like around the Elizabeth area down toward Oberlin. Oakdale has some light rain. Same story west of the Kinder vicinity with some mostly light rain that is not severe. Final stop will slide north into Vernon Parish, where there's also not a lot of rain here either. It's kind of a band across the very northern part of the parish, and that's really about it. So it is the tornado warning storm. That is the only real thing that we're monitoring here in southwest Louisiana. We can slide back down to that tornado warning storm here for southwestern portions of Beauregard Parish. Still a lot of lightning showing up with this too. That's a sign to me that this is definitely not weakened at all. There's likely some hail with this too. We can look at the hail product, and luckily that's not as extreme. And I've been focusing on that today because yesterday's storms in Texas were prolific hail producers. Thankfully, that's not the case today, at least yet. Probably some small hail. And if anyone's watching, if you're in this area, please stay in your safe place until we tell you that you should come out. But if you are in this area and you have any reports of damage after this is cleared, please let us know. You can always email us, news@kplctv.com. You can send a message on Facebook, too, if you'd like to do that. Anything else, if you have hail reports or anything like that. But again, I don't want anyone here south of the Bancroft area, west of Fields, going out and trying to get pictures of this. Trust me, I know we like to show you pictures of things, but that is not a good idea. You do not want to be out there in this because this is likely rain wrap. We can go back to the radar and you'll notice there's not this well-defined hook shape. Sometimes when you get those tornadoes with a hook, you can theoretically get out and be able to get a good picture of one if you're in a safe place to do that. But this is not that type of storm. Let's go to the velocity and I'll show you what I mean. Right here is where all this red's at, and that's where the velocity is showing up. So all of that is in the rain. Under the rain is where, if there is a tornado going on, it's what we call rain wrapped. It is not going to be something that's going to be visible if you were, say, along Highway 109 trying to look for this. I also know there's a lot of trees in the area, which would make it difficult to try to spot a tornado. I know you've probably seen videos, if you look on social media a lot, of the storm chasers out in Texas and portions of the Central Plains states. Remember, you're talking about open cornfields or wheat fields without trees. We don't have that in most of southwest Louisiana. That's why storm chasing here is very difficult to nearly impossible because of trees. It just makes it difficult to be able to see a tornado even during the day. But again, this one's rain wrapped anyway, so all of that is a moot point. The good news, I see this separate area of rotation that was kind of northeast of Fields looks less impressive than it did earlier, and it still wasn't that impressive, but still, this is a good sign that this little piece has weakened somewhat. This one in the southwestern corner of Beauregard Parish, still fairly broad, to be honest. I'm not seeing a significant signature here on the tornado front anymore, but there's likely at least the potential somewhere along this, and I'll be honest, it's about to get outside of this tornado warning polygon, and may have to see an adjustment with the warning, which is set to expire in about 10 minutes from now. So we're still watching that area of southwestern Beauregard Parish for any potential information on that. But again, that's where that storm is located. There is the southwest corner of Beauregard Parish. Let's go back to the radar on this, and we'll show folks still there is a lot of rain. That's the other story. Again, there could be some localized flooding from this as rainfall rates are fairly high with this, especially in the southwest corner of Beauregard Parish. And we'll also be watching the storms to the west. I mentioned every parish here, but let's kind of take a perspective of what's going on to our west over in southeast Texas and central Texas even. A lot of storms north of Houston, though. Let's put this into motion, Max, and notice the storms up here just north of Houston. These have been weakening. That's a good sign. I think this is mainly because this area has been what we call worked over. Storms have been going over this area for a while. This was storming over here around noon today, and it still is in places. So that's taken some of the energy out. Then you've got another line, say, from down near San Antonio through Bryan, College Station, all the way up to near Lufkin. This is gradually sinking south. This is actually the cold front here. That may become the focusing mechanism for the storms through the rest of the afternoon on into the evening hours. And yes, that boundary will slide south into our area as well later on tonight. Now, once the front moves through, that'll effectively end any risk of severe weather. There still may be rain that lingers here on Saturday. And in fact, let's look at the Futurecast computer model real quick here, the local model, and we'll show you what's going on that front as well. As you can see, the model showing what's going on in southwest Louisiana. Definitely we'll put that into motion once Max finds it and pulls it up. We'll show you that the showers and storms will continue to be an issue here in southwest Louisiana through the evening hours, but should taper off later tonight.
Yeah, and wait, they also did extend that warning.
Okay. Well, let's go back to that real quick then over, and we'll show you. First, let me show you Futurecast since we have that here. Here's the computer model showing a good scattering of showers and thunderstorms. This likely continues. We'll put it into motion through time this evening. I think after sunset, these will likely begin to taper off, but they may still be producing rain in many places. And I know many of you may be wondering, what about your Saturday forecast? Well, I think rain is going to be possible for the morning hours Saturday, especially before daylight on Saturday. and then likely tapering off as we head into the late morning on into the afternoon hours. As we put this into motion through time, we'll kind of see that. There's a Saturday, we'll pause here at about 5 a.m. A lot of this would be light, and I'll admit the models usually over-exaggerate the light rain part of this quite a bit, so I'm not so sure if we would see that much rain, but we can continue this on into time through the rest of the morning hours on our Saturday. I think by around sunrise, most of the rain would be done here in southwest Louisiana. Notice the wind arrows turning northerly tomorrow. That's a sign the cold front will have moved through. That should knock the temperatures down a little bit, and more importantly, should end any risk of severe weather. But let's go back to the radar here in southwest Louisiana, and we'll show you what's going on now with respect to our weather here in southwest Louisiana. And there's technically a new tornado warning that will include Beauregard Parish as well as northern Calcasieu Parish. And this goes until 5:30. And this is what I was talking about, that warning, that signature on the radar is getting close to the edge of the polygon. And that's why a new tornado warning was issued for the very southwestern portions of Beauregard and now northwestern Calcasieu. And this does include those of you in and around the city of DeQuincy. So heads up here. Let's look at the velocity. You'll see why there was this new warning issued. And there it is. You can see this area here. I still say this is fairly broad and is not all that tight of a signature, but based on the previous storm that kind of popped up, I definitely agree with having this warning in place. And even if there's not a tornado, there could be significant wind going on with this specific storm as well. That's located right along Highway 109, just south of the Fields area, and is moving east. I suspect at about probably 20 to 25 miles per hour, maybe a little less than that. Most of these storms have been moving fairly slow. About 20 miles per hour off to the east. And in fact, let's if you want to do a quick track on that, Max, and show folks where that is heading. If it's moving at about 20 miles per hour, we'll see that that has moved on to the east over into, or we'll track it east over toward the DeQuincy area. And of course, the previous tornado warning will technically go away at 5:15. Unfortunately, it won't go away on our system because it was not canceled. But those of you in that previous warning are no longer in effect on that. And there's definitely been some signs there's some of the places. So let's talk about where this is heading. It's moving east at about 20 miles per hour. Obviously, it's not going to go this far east. So let's clear this a little bit and keep this within the warning box, because we know it's not going to get all the way over into Allen Parish for sure. The storm might, but we'll track this much more of a short term over the next, we'll say, about 30 minutes or so, and keeping this fairly wide. But again, areas out around the DeQuincy near the airport by around 5:29. So that's in about 19 minutes from now. The DeQuincy Hospital, obviously inside the city of DeQuincy, within about the next 30 minutes or so, if this holds together that long. Beyond that, that's too far out to really to focus on anything beyond that far to the east. But through around 5:30, this could reach the DeQuincy area. Let's look at the regular velocity on this, Max, instead of the storm relative, and let's see what the radar is showing on that as well, and maybe even query some of these values here in that bright green, because I suspect there's some fairly strong wind gusts going on here along Highway 109, just south of the Fields area heading toward DeQuincy. You can see 35, nearly 40 mile per hour wind gusts where this bright colored green. You can see some 40+ mile per hour winds there. Not overly extreme, but again, there's likely wind here as well. This isn't just a tiny tornado. There's likely a fairly large swath of wind that is going on here along Highway 109. And heads up, those of you in DeQuincy, this is moving more toward the east. So this will reach the DeQuincy area in about the next, let's say, 20 to 25 minutes if this does not weaken. And again, I'm having a harder time finding a defined circulation with this, but let's go back to the storm relative velocity on that. And again, it's not a well-defined signature, but anywhere along that, there certainly could be at least some rotation going on. We can look at the radar. I mentioned this earlier when we started this part of the broadcast on this. There's not a defined hook echo with this, so that's at least a positive sign, but that doesn't mean that there can't be a tornado with this. And again, this tornado warning goes until 5:30. 30 here in southwest Louisiana for southwest Beauregard, northwestern portions of Calcasieu Parish. Let's look at the debris tracker on this. It's going through some areas where we have a lot of trees. If there was a tornado, there likely would be at least something being lofted up, and we're close enough to the radar that it would likely show up, but we're not seeing it. Doesn't mean that it can't be happening, because the radar beam at this point is fairly high into the thunderstorm, so it could still be missing that, but certainly that's a good sign, at least, that we're not seeing a debris. That's not something anyone as a meteorologist wants to see. It tells us, yes, that there is more than likely a tornado, but trust me, that's not something we want to see. That would be a much more ominous thing to be seeing an actual debris signature on the radar. Let's go back to the regular radar real quick on this, and you can see this is moving more toward the east, so heads up right along Highway 109 and now moving east of Highway 109. Areas along Highway 389, that's southeast of Fields, between there and where 389 comes in to the city of DeQuincy. You guys need to be keeping a close eye on this and getting to your safe place now. Areas along Highway 12 west of the city of DeQuincy also need to be in a safe place now until we tell you otherwise. If you're farther back to the west, I always try to effort to tell you when you're in the clear. If you're watching us around Bancroft, unfortunately, I know you're still included in this warning, but it is going to go away here in 1 minute. It wasn't canceled, but it's going to go away because the threat of any tornado is down here. So if you're closer to Bancroft, you can come out of your safe place now. No need to stay in the bathroom closet, wherever you may have gone. You're in the clear. Up toward the Bivens area too, you guys were included in this initial warning. That is no longer the case. Again, you are in the clear. There's no longer a threat of a tornado here. The Fields community, you're going to be right on the edge of the warning that's going to stay in place, so stay in your safe place now. But again, Bancroft, Bivens area, or anyone along Highway 389 in between those communities are in the clear. Anyone along Highway 389 west of Fields, really is probably a better way to put that, is in the clear. But from Fields east and southeast toward DeQuincy, that is where there is still at least the danger of a tornado here, where radar at least indicates there is a potential tornado. If you're in that area, especially if you're in the areas where I told you you're in the clear, if you have any damage to report from, say, this storm or maybe the one that was going on about an hour ago, you can always email us news@kplctv.com. You can always send us a message on Facebook as well and send us that information. And pictures will also be great if you have them. But please, again, do not go outside and try to look for this tornado. This is not the type of tornado that would be visible, because unfortunately it is raining where the tornado is happening, if it is happening, so you're not going to be able to see it before it gets there. And unfortunately, once it is raining, that's when things could get dicey real quick, if the tornado kind of pops up over you and without any warning at all, other than the warning I'm telling you that yes, there is likely a tornado here in this vicinity west of the city of DeQuincy. Quite a bit of lightning too. That still tells me this storm has not weakened very much. Let's look at the hail on this and see if there's any signs of any hail bullseyes, and certainly seeing that quite a bit with that storm. You can see that kind of bullseye feature zooming in right there, right along the Calcasieu Beauregard Parish line. This is just north of Starks. That's a pretty impressive hail core with this, and that's usually been the predominant feature with these storms today, and even yesterday it was, but there certainly seems to be just enough shear in the atmosphere to produce at least these tornado-warned storms. Let's look at the hail product here from the computer. Can actually try to estimate the size, and it's not all that impressive, but that's likely still near 1 inch or just under 1 inch diameter hail. There it is, right at a 1 inch diameter hail. We can kind of forecast that hail track. We'll see if the computer's caught up with that, because it's just developed. And there it goes. You can see where that potential hail core, and by hail core I mean the area where the hail is the largest, would likely move off toward the east and northeast at around 20 to 25 miles per hour, right along the Calcasieu Beauregard Parish line. Again, this is a fairly sparsely populated area, fairly rural, with a lot of trees here. But again, I know there's some of you that live here in the very southwest corner of Beauregard Parish. So not only is there a tornado warning, but there's also significant hail that could be at least up to 1 inch diameter that could be occurring with this storm. Whether or not that's able to maintain itself, we will see. Let's go look at the velocity one more time on this storm, and we'll see that is still very broad, but to seeing certainly there's still signatures here where there could be a tornado just west of the DeQuincy area, kind of seeing this curling back in like this, where this red goes like this. That's could be some signs of a tornado here south of the Fields area. But stay in your safe place in Fields or along Highway 109 between Fields and Starks until give you the all clear, though I think this is probably east of Highway 109, but I'd rather you stay in the safe place just a bit longer. We can look at the regular radar here on this as well and show you that the storm is getting closer into the city of DeQuincy as well. Not seeing as much rain in DeQuincy just yet, but certainly it's getting close. You can see all the lightning strikes here too. And notice where I mentioned that hail core. See all the lightning strikes down here? Yeah, that's also evident and why I suspect that hail is an issue with this as well. So obviously tornado warning takes precedent, but the hail is also could be an issue for those of you right along the Calcasieu-Beauregard Parish line north of Starks over to let's say around the city of DeQuincy. And yeah, that hail could get into the city of DeQuincy too. So not only are we dealing with the potential for a tornado, but yes, we could see some hail. You can see the radar looks like it may have updated there. Rain is still going on in DeQuincy. And again, this tornado warning goes until looks like they've added the hail to this warning. That's what I was just talking about. And it looks like they've extended the time on that too. Is that correct?
Yeah, until 5:45.
Yeah, I saw an update here at the top. So yeah, not only are we dealing with a hail, but also a potential tornado. And they're not exactly in the same spot inside of this thunderstorm. So hail heads up here in and around DeQuincy. So again, I know it's been a couple minutes. I always try to effort to keep everyone in our viewing area informed if we're on like this significant. You may be wondering, why are we staying on? Well, we're staying on because one, as long as there's a threat of a tornado anywhere in our viewing area, we're going to be on to give you that information. We stay with it. That way if somebody just happens to tune in. But let's show everyone else what's going on in the rest of Southwest Louisiana. Thankfully, the rest of us not seeing much weather going on, and that's certainly good news. Cameron Parish has the least amount of problems of anyone because there's hardly a drop of rain anywhere here. Most of Jeff Davis Parish is mostly rain-free too. I'm not seeing much here either. A few little showers up near the KPLC television transmitter, but that's just rain. Calcasieu Parish, except the areas included in this warning, are relatively clear for now. But the question is, will this storm west of DeQuincy take more of a right turn? That was an issue yesterday. We were watching, Max and I both were watching the storms in Texas, and a lot of them seem to start taking these right turns, and that's also a sign of strong storms. We'll see if that's going to be the case with this one as well, because obviously DeQuincy, you're under the gun now, but if this moves more southeast, this could get closer to areas at least up along the Houston River. I want to give you guys a first alert to at least stay weather alert this afternoon. Areas north of Interstate 10, North Sulphur, north portions of Westlake, then over toward maybe the Gillis and Ragley area. We'll have to see how this storm evolves and goes over the next hour or so. But obviously hail could be an issue, and of course there's also the threat at least of a tornado from this. We're talking about the rest of our viewing here. Let's go up into Allen Parish. Quite a bit of light to moderate rain here, but obviously none of this is going to be severe. This is just rain, not even a lightning strike showing up in Allen Parish. The rest of Beauregard Parish, mostly rain, yes, from places like DeRidder to Dry Creek over towards Singer, around the Longville area, but none of you are included in any sort of warning at all. Tornado warning or severe thunderstorm, either one. And of course, Vernon Parish, things are mostly clear at the moment. There's some scattered showers, but nothing that's showing any signs of being problematic. So this is good news. But obviously, we're still keeping an eye on the storm in Beauregard Parish, the southwest corner of Beauregard Parish, the very northwest corner or north central portions of Calcasieu Parish, because this rides along the line, and this white line is the parish line, which juts up to include the DeQuincy area in Calcasieu Parish, obviously. And let's look at the velocity on this. I'm beginning to see more of these little notches showing up on the radar itself, and there's likely the potential at least for some rotation here west of DeQuincy. That is, of course, Highway 12 there, Highway 389. And then we're also watching that potential for hail. Let's look at the hail product too. course, tornado is worse than hail, but hail can cause significant damage, especially if it gets large enough. And that's the hail estimate. This is what we call the old school way of looking at it, but it usually gives us these bullseyes. We can look at the actual hail estimate product here from the radar. Thankfully, that doesn't look like that's gotten any worse. Still about an inch to an inch and a quarter. We're talking about quarter to maybe just shy of golf ball sized hail with respect to that specific storm there. That's riding right along the parish line just north of the Starks area along Highway 109. So if you're needed to be traveling in this area, I would avoid it for a little while longer until this clears. And this is moving off toward the east, so heading toward DeQuincy. Areas along Highway 12 may end up with some fairly significant hail out of this if this holds together. And of course, again, the tornado is the primary concern, though. We can go back to the radar on this one more time and show you there's still the tornado warning in effect until 5:45, including DeQuincy, just south of the Fields area as well. And I think it's safe to say, at least from a tornado perspective, that we're in the clear now if you're along Highway 109 from Fields southwest. There's still a lot of rain, a lot of lightning. It's likely windy, but I think if there was a tornado, it's going to be out here closer to the edge of this storm, especially based on the velocity. I'll leave my hand kind of here and we can look at the velocity on this, and you can see that matches up right where the edge of the red and green. I would suspect here is probably the best location of a potential tornado just northwest of DeQuincy. So let's zoom in a little closer. Obviously, Highway 389 is the major highway here that shows up, but zooming in a little bit closer, there's a Dahlquist Road there as the Country Square Avenue here looks like. Obviously, the airport here just southwest of the city of DeQuincy along Highway 12 there. You can see the heavy rain there. And again, if there's a tornado, it's approaching the big S curve out here, or the big curve on Highway 389, just past the Hargrove community before you head back up toward the Fields area, just north of Paul Johnson Road there. And if I'm naming a road that's anywhere close to you, that means you're in the danger zone, if you will. So right there along just west of Highway 389 for the moment, west of the Hargrove community, just past the Calcasieu-Beauregard Parish line. That's the white line right here is the Beauregard-Calcasieu Parish line. This is the same area that had several of those fires a couple of years ago when we were dealing with the fires during the summer back a couple of years ago. So again, if you're in those areas, please take shelter, get to the lowest level of your home. Bathroom, closet, interior room, something like that is where you want to be as far as that specific storm is concerned. Let's take a little bit wider view on this and show you elsewhere. And want to keep an eye down where that hail core is at and make sure that that doesn't turn into more as well. And I see they've upped the hail size. I was talking about that it looked like that hail may have went up a little bit. And I see they've updated the warning now saying up to 1.5 inch diameter sized hail. Let's look at the hail product, because that, I really think that may be the bigger concern with this storm. Right there, there's your hail core right along Highway 109, and that's moving slowly. That's been the case with the storms all day today, that they've been fairly slow moving, which means you get caught under them. It may hail for a while, as in the case with this hail core. It's also going to rain for a while, which means the rainfall totals will really go up rather quickly. And again, this is moving pretty much due east at about 15 to 20 miles per hour. So anyone right along the Calcasieu-Beauregard Parish line would be in the path for potential hail from this out along Highway 12, kind of east and northeast of the Starks area, west of the DeQuincy area. Let's go back to the radar one more time and show you what's going on. Again, this warning is set to go until 5:45, and we'll be sticking with this as long as there's the signs of both the hail and, more importantly, the tornado aspect of this storm still showing up. And a lot of lightning here too still. That tells me this storm has not weakened at all, which is not the sign we were hoping to see. We were hoping to see this weekend at least somewhat as it was moving eastward, but that is not the case. Still a lot of lightning. DeQuincy, you guys are still in the under the gun for this within the next, I'd say, about 10 to 15 minutes. The storm has been moving rather slow, which is good and bad, but it gives you more time to get to a safe place. But you need to get there and take your smartphone with you. We'll be staying on with this. You can continue watching on our First Alert weather app, and that's always something to keep in mind when we deal with these potential for severe thunderstorms that that you keep the weather app handy and keep watching us because of the potential for us. If you lose power or whatnot, you want to be able to continue to get information from us. And I see the Weather Service is kind of concerned about what I was talking about, that there's maybe some rotation that could wrap up quickly, kind of just west of the DeQuincy area out along Highway 109 and Highway 12, just northwest of DeQuincy. Would probably be the areas most likely that could see that. So again, stay in a safe place here. This is, again, rain wrapped. You're not going to be able to go out and see this. This isn't something that you could go out and see. So don't try that at all. And you can also get quick little spin up tornadoes right along the edge of this type of storm as well. Those are impossible to see until they actually develop. And sometimes the radar doesn't even see those little tiny spin up tornadoes either. So stay in a safe place in DeQuincy. But if you're farther west along Highway 109, I think you're okay at this point southwest of the Fields area. But obviously a lot of rain, a lot of lightning still occurring. And we'll look at the hail once again and see if that's gone up or down. That's a trend I always like to see, because if we see the trends going down, that can be a sign of a weakening storm. But I don't see that at all with this specific storm just yet. That hail core has moved maybe just east of Highway 109, right along the Calcasieu-Beauregard Parish line. Let's look at the VIL on this, the kind of what we call older school method, but the bullseye shows up much easier to see. And there it is right there. That's the area where the hail would be most problematic. But the tornado is not directly where the hail's at. So the hail's here. Let's look at the velocity at the same point and leave it at this view. So the hail core's down here. If there's a tornado, it's likely up here somewhere just west of the DeQuincy area. So tornado first, and then potential hail kind of moves across the same area here across this. If there's a tornado here, this is getting close to moving fully into Calcasieu Parish. Let's look at the debris. Haven't looked at that in a little while. See if there's anything showing up. And I still don't see anything here, which is a good sign. I never want to see that. If we were to see debris, it would show up, as it says in the banner up here, in blue. But that doesn't mean this is, because there's no rain. It has to match up where the potential tornado's at. And I mentioned that was right here in the vicinity of the Calcasieu-Beauregard Parish line.